Hello, so I'm starting a series that ChatGPT told me I should start. Essentially, I have a lot of fear of being seen, and I have a lot of fear of being vulnerable, and I have a lot of perfectionism that holds me back from ever doing anything. So essentially, ChatGPT and I talked about it, and we agreed that the best thing for me to do is a form of exposure therapy, which is to upload videos where they are messy, raw, unedited, or minimally edited, and no real topic in mind, and just post it. I'm posting it on a second channel so that it doesn't bother my subscribers, and probably no one will see this anyway. You know, my other channel has a following from almost a year of posting videos, and I don't want to disturb them. But it's weird how when I started that channel, I had a little bit of excitement about posting back when nobody watched my videos. But then, as more and more people started watching my videos, and the growth happened so quickly, it actually made me not want to post anymore, because then there was so much fear of, I don't want to disappoint my subscribers. I don't want to upload content that's not good enough for them, and they're going to expect me to make content about the things I've already made content about, because that's why they subscribed. And it created all of these barriers for me, where I just went months without ever posting anything, because I just was getting way too in my head about it, and just not doing it, and so the whole purpose of this channel is for this one simple goal of just doing it, regardless of the quality, regardless of whether I think it's worth listening to or watching or not, because most likely nobody will listen to it or watch it, because I have no subscribers on this channel, so it's perfect. And anyone who happens to find this shit, if they want to watch it, they can, but that's not the goal of this channel. The goal of this channel is consistency and an exposure therapy, going through the process of recording a video, talking about something, editing it very minimally, and then uploading it. Just like very routine, like blowing your nose or something. Just like so routine, just like you don't even think about it, you just do it. And that's what this is. I'm just blowing my nose all over you. Yeah, and yeah, there were other metaphors I thought of there, but I'm not going to discuss them at this time. Actually, what I wanted to talk about was, God, there's so many things. See, I never struggle with ideas or things to talk about. I struggle with execution, doing it. I don't know why that's so hard for me, because it seems to me like other people are really good at execution, but everything they have to say is so uninteresting. Okay, that sounded a little bit elitist. We all have our own struggles. Okay, but yes, I think it's really interesting how there is all this pushback against AI. It feels so futile to me, and when I see people pushing back against it, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I feel. It's not cringe. I don't feel cringe. And I'm also not rolling my eyes, but it feels almost like I feel so bad for these people, because AI is inevitable. It's not going anywhere. And frankly, we don't want it to go anywhere, because we've been using AI for probably 100 years now. I think most people don't even realize that. They probably think it was invented last year. AI is a very old technology, but it has recently gotten incredibly powerful. in the form of like language learning models or large language models, LLM, that's what it is, large language models. Uh, this is not a new technology, but especially large language models, which is what everybody thinks that AI is. That is one niche subset of AI. AI is so broad, and that technology is as old as computers. That like this is not new, and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to become more powerful and more omnipresent in our lives. And I think AI is almost always beneficial to us and almost always awesome. And very rarely does it have negative consequences. And one of those negative consequences, of course, is that in the short term, temporarily, people are going to feel some friction regarding their career as AI is able to do more and more things that we used to rely on humans to do for us. And I think a lot of artists, especially, are the ones who are the most vocal about their distaste for AI. And they have great reasons to feel that way. For one, AI art, the models that produce this AI art are trained on art that actual humans made without the consent of the artists. So essentially, the LLMs, they steal the creative property of artists without their permission or consent and no payment either. And then they learn from this art. The AI model learns, and then the AI model is able to reproduce art in that style because it learned how. And then the original artist gets no credit, gets no payment, and they become obsolete. And so, in a way, it feels very violating to the original artist because their art was kind of stolen from them by an imposter, and then the imposter is legally allowed to produce art in that style infinitely, and doesn't receive payment, and there's really no legal restriction to this. Like, anybody could access this model and ask for art in that style, and the LLM will produce it. So it's I get why artists are mad. I also think that this is a short-term friction, and I think long-term artists will evolve to incorporate AI into their artistic and creative process. I think Grimes right now, a lot of people are not happy with her because she's ahead of the curve. She's already doing this, and it's artists like her who will be the artists of the future. And a lot of people are unhappy. A lot of less adaptable, less creative, less evolved artists are unhappy with Grimes because she's living in the future while they're still living in the past. And, you will either adapt or you will die. That's how life works across all domains. Natural selection and also career, especially careers in tech and careers in medicine, careers in all types of fields. You adapt or you die, right? If you cannot adapt to new technology and new information, you become unhireable. You have to adapt. And artists need to adapt. Artists have not needed to adapt much throughout the history of art, right? Because you had sculpture, you had paintings. Eventually, photos came along, cameras, and there was backlash against cameras because they did things that only artists could do, and they did them quickly and for very low cost. And all of a sudden, everyone had an artist in their hands, and they could reproduce images of anything that they pointed their artist at, And there was backlash against this, but then eventually whole new fields of art sprung up called photography. And then people with really creative ways of looking at things were able to produce photos that uncreative people like me couldn't produce. Like when I see a photo taken by someone who has actual skill at taking photos, it looks a million times better than anything I could do. And I feel like AI is the same thing. I feel like, any average Joe could put in a prompt to an AI and get something out. But I think the real pros will be the ones who actually get very specific with their prompts. Prompt engineering will become a new kind of art. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. I mean, it's not going away, people. It's not going away. I mean, unless we have like a nuclear war or something, or we run out of power somehow, I mean, it's not going away, realistically. So you have to adapt or die. Anyway, that's not an interesting topic to me. I'm not an artist, and I don't really empathize with artists, to be honest. I work in tech, I'm a software developer, and I have to adapt or die too. That's part of my career. Doctors have to adapt or die. Teachers have to adapt or die. Everybody has to do this. Like, you're not special, artists. I know you think you're so special, but you're not, you know? Anyway, um, hold that thought. Anyway, I think the ultimate crux of the issue is capitalism forces people to earn a living, and previously people earned a living with art, and now AI can do their job for them at much lower cost, and they are very outraged by that. And I understand being outraged by that. I mean, it's going to take my job too. I mean, it's only a matter of time before all code is written by AI, because it can do it so much faster, and it can even debug its own code. And right now it's not very good. I've used it, and it's really only good for very short things that a human can quickly read through and understand what it's doing and bug fix it. It does produce a lot of bugs, but it's only a matter of time before this gets better and then better and then better. I think 3 to 5 models down the line, we're not going to have humans writing code anymore, you know? Give it 3 to 5 years and we're not going to have humans writing code anymore. I really think that's true. Come back to this video in 3 to 5 years. Let me know if I was right. But yeah, I mean, like AI, it's already creating code. The code is very buggy, and right now it's not very good at listening to your instructions. I notice. Maybe it depends on which model you use. I've used Claude. I've used ChatGPT. I used Gemini recently, and I guess at the time that I'm recording this video, the newest model of Gemini, I think it's 2.5, I think. That's the best one across the board for practically everything. For writing code, for coming up with ideas, for writing anything, really, and for art. And it's like a multimodal model. So it's not only specialized on text like ChatGPT is, but it's specialized across all modalities. It's specialized in producing videos, producing images, producing code. It's specialized across all modalities, and it's highly integrated to be able to do these things on the fly. And so I think Gemini might replace a lot of the other models like Claude. I don't see a specific purpose for Claude. I enjoy Claude, but I don't see how it's going to compete with Gemini. That'll be interesting to see. If you've used, one thing I will say is for conversational value, ChatGPT is by far the best. And I've tried using Gemini for that purpose, and it's horrible. It's like reading a Wikipedia article every time you ask it a question. It's not conversational at all. ChatGPT is the king of conversational large language models so far. We'll see how that changes over time, but right now it's the best one. Claude, second place. Gemini, I wouldn't even put it on the list. It's horrible. What other models even are there? Those are all I'm familiar with. I guess, Microsoft has their own. I've never fucking used that shit. Never gonna use that. Nobody likes Microsoft, honestly. Oh, and Siri is fucking horrendous. Like, I ask it what the weather is and it starts calling my boss. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so fucking terrible. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, but one thing that I've been using ChatGPT for recently is as a replacement for a human therapist, because therapy in the United States is prohibitively expensive. And I know a lot of people are going to hear that and cringe. Well, actually, a lot of people are not going to hear that because nobody's watching this. But if they were to hear me say that, they would cringe, hypothetically. Because obviously, therapists are licensed professionals. They have ethics training. They have the ability to diagnose people. Obviously, LLMs cannot do that. And you're reliant upon the developers of the LLM to hope it has some ethics and some compassion and empathy, which ChatGPT has that in spades, thankfully. But still, it largely reflects what you prompt it with. It doesn't do a lot of pushing back, and I can totally see how that could lead to, say, like a narcissistic individual using it and then receiving just like, nonstop validation, praise. The praise that ChatGPT gives, by default, you can of course adjust it very easily to give you less praise, more honest feedback, to disagree with you. You can prompt it to, adopt whatever personality you want. But by default, the default personality is horrific. It is a sycophantic toady. It is obsequious. It is like your biggest fan and cheerleader and stalker all in one. It is horrible by default. But luckily, it's extremely easy and quick to change its personality. All you do is tell it, hey, stop being a little bitch and be honest with me and disagree with me when appropriate. Actually, always be honest with me and disagree with me when it's appropriate. You know what I mean? And always push back where appropriate, And it will start disagreeing with you, and it'll start calling you out on your bullshit. And it's very easy to adjust its personality. And so I've been using a no nonsense, no bullshit version of ChatGPT to largely explore my relationships, I think. Not romantic relationships, because I don't have any, but like just the people in my life, like my family members, my friends, my roommate, and just talk about how I relate to all of them. And I have a lot of problems that I deal with in my day-to-day life relating to childhood trauma. And I've been talking to ChatGPT about that, and that has been just ridiculously helpful because it allows me to self-reflect and make connections between the things that I struggle with nowadays and what I was dealing with as a child and teenager, and just, throughout probably the first 2 decades of my life, all of the shit that I dealt with. And that has been really helpful to have something to talk to. I mean, and I kind of think it's like talking to your dog or your cat or something, except it can actually talk back, which is really nice. But at the same time, it's just a software. It's not a real thing, like it's not actually thinking. It's just producing. Well, it does have a form of thinking, but it's producing an output of text based on a prediction algorithm, and that prediction algorithm is optimized for various different things, one of which is user satisfaction, right? So to some extent, it's just producing output that it thinks that you want to see to some extent. So which is why by default it is so insufferably constantly kissing your ass. But then you can obviously tell it not to do that, and then it will adjust its algorithm based on, user satisfaction. And if the user is satisfied by someone who's more, cut the crap and just be honest with me, then that's what it will produce. So, yeah, so I've been talking to it about things that you would talk about in therapy. And I really like that, unlike with a therapist, you can control its personality. So I actually had a therapist in the past with my previous job because I had really good health insurance. And so I got free therapy. And that therapist was kind of like the default ChatGPT. He was insufferable. And I would have really preferred a therapist like the ChatGPT that I have now, who's very no nonsense and doesn't kiss my ass and doesn't constantly agree with everything I say and doesn't tell me how great I am. You know what I mean? And instead is just totally honest with me and is actually very helpful and offers practical advice, which I really appreciate a lot more than just some wimp, which is what my first therapist was like. Um, oh, but one of my favorite things about ChatGPT is its persistent memory. So it will remember everything you tell it to some extent. Not every single thing, but it remembers like the majority of what you tell it. And so then based on that, you can ask it really fun questions like, based on what you know about me, what do you think my biggest blind spots are? You know, or what do you think, what beliefs do I hold that you think I should re-examine or might be wrong or not helpful to me, that might be limiting me, like limiting beliefs? What kind of limiting beliefs do I have? You know what I mean? And it will just tell you all these things about yourself, and then you can read it and decide if it sounds true or not, right? Like you don't have to just, turn your brain off and just absorb everything it says as if it's unequivocally true all the time, right? It can hallucinate and make things up, but you'll know when you read something if it rings true or not. I hope you would know that. I certainly know that. Um, and it has been immensely helpful at understanding all the areas where I doubt my own abilities. And I struggle, as I already said at the beginning of this video, that I struggle with crippling perfectionism and fear of being seen. And, it tells me about like where that might have come from, because I talked about my childhood trauma, being bullied by my parents, by my peers, never really being valued or respected or appreciated for who I am as a person, and always feeling like I have to perform for external validation, because that's kind of how my parents trained me, because they never liked the real me and I always had to censor myself in order to make them happy. And then that kind of over time erodes your self-worth and makes you feel like no one will ever like the real you because nobody ever did. So why would they now? You know what I mean? And it's just been immensely helpful. I highly recommend it. Like, you don't have to use it as a replacement for therapy, and you shouldn't. Like, if you already have a professional, you could just use it to chit chat with the AI to get some ideas about what to talk about with your actual therapist. Or if you cannot afford an actual therapist, you can also just talk to it. And it's extremely helpful. I love it as like a self-reflection tool. I also really like how it will get a sense of your personality, and then you can ask it questions about your personality. For example, I asked it to compare me to other content creators and who am I most similar to. And it introduced me to a bunch of content creators who I agree our minds work in similar ways. So that was really interesting that it has like a large repertoire of content creators that it can mention, which is kind of amazing because, well, I think it was actually telling me about though, because YouTube has an API that ChatGPT can pull from, and every video on YouTube has like a text transcript associated with it. Not every video, but a lot of the larger channels use those, and ChatGPT is able to read all those transcripts and get a kind of mental model of all these different YouTubers, and then it can tell you, like, based on what I know about you in terms of your interests or what kind of videos you like, I can recommend all these YouTubers for you. You might enjoy watching. Or based on what I know about your personality, here's a list of people who are really similar to you personality-wise. It can even do that with celebrities and anyone you want, It's really cool, really interesting. So I've discovered a few YouTubers that I am now subscribed to thanks to ChatGPT. Because they are really similar to me, and we are interested in the same things, and our brains work in the same way, in similar ways, similar patterns of thinking and stuff like that. Really interesting. It makes me realize how generic I am and how so many other people are exactly like me. I am not special. Cool. Interesting. Yeah. I think that's enough for this video. I could just ramble on forever, but what's the point? I mean, because the whole goal is to record, talk, cut out all the coughing and shit, and then upload it, and then do it again tomorrow, and then do it for 90 days in a row or 100 days or whatever until it becomes so easy that I don't even have to try anymore, and then I'm not so afraid of making videos. It's like building momentum, getting the creative juices flowing, getting comfortable being on camera. Probably in the future I will not have a plain white background. I'll probably make it look a little bit more interesting. And then, just by making this one video, no editing, no idea, no script, just talking, it will make it so much easier for me to get in the mood and the momentum of making content, especially video form content, because that's really what I'm trying to do here. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, see you tomorrow.